I am Susan Sharp Campbell, Associate for Educational Ministry for the Presbytery of West Virginia. This video is intended to provide an overview orientation for the winter stated meeting of the Presbytery, which will be held on Saturday, February 15th at Riverlawn Presbyterian Church in St. Albans. The church's address for your GPS is 2008 Pennsylvania Avenue in St. Albans. This video, however, is not intended to replace you reading the meeting packet, which has been sent to those who have registered by email or can be found at www.wvpresbytery.org. If you haven't already downloaded the packet, you may want to do so now so you can follow along with this video. The morning will begin with refreshments and fellowship at 9 a.m., and the meeting will be called to order at 10. But before we get to the specifics of the meeting, there are a few things you need to do before you leave home. It's a little late to register for the meeting, but if you haven't done so, please contact the Presbytery office at 304-744-7634 or email office@wvpresbytery.org as soon as possible. You will need to download the Presbytery meeting packet onto your phone, tablet, or computer before arriving, as Wi-Fi will not be available during the meeting. We aren't printing packets anymore for everyone, but if you need a printed packet provided, please make that request known by phone or email to the office no later than Wednesday, February 12th at 5 p.m. At each meeting of the Presbytery, we are partnering with the host church on a mission project. For this meeting, Riverlawn has asked that you bring hygiene items such as toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, and shampoo for Jericho House and the St. Albans Community Food Pantry. There'll be a place at registration to leave these. When you arrive at the meeting, please locate the registration table. There'll be signs to direct you. Pick up your name tag and pay for lunch if you haven't already done so. If you arrive before 10, you'll find refreshments and fellowship are available. At 10 a.m., outgoing moderator Steve Hornbeck, a ruling elder at First Presbyterian Church in Buchanan, will call the meeting to order in the sanctuary. One of our first items of business will be to install Andy Rice, pastor of Oak Grove Presbyterian Church in Hillsborough, as our moderator for 2020. He was unable to be present at the November meeting due to denominational moderator training. Other persons to note during the day are Ed Thompson, our general presbyter, and Maureen Wright, our stated clerk. Together, they seek to ensure a well-run meeting. Please note that any time you wish to speak during the meeting, including good news from the pews, you should always address the moderator, not those gathered in the pews. It's a matter of respect and courtesy for the office of the moderator. On to the advanced packet of materials for this meeting. You'll find that there are 3 sections to the packet: the docket with committee reports, a worship bulletin, and a section of flyers that highlight upcoming events in the Presbytery. While I will hit the highlights, please read the entire packet before arriving at the meeting so as to be informed about the work of the Presbytery and the business we'll be conducting at this meeting. Come informed, but also come open to the leading of the Spirit as we meet. As Presbyterians who meet in councils to make decisions together, we trust that as we meet the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God moves among us, helping us to discern where God is leading us together. So while I hope you're familiar with the work we'll be doing, I also hope you'll come with an open mind, open to hearing the voice of God, the Spirit of God, in the voices of one another. On pages 1 and 2 of the advanced packet, you'll find the proposed docket. Those items marked with an asterisk indicate orders of the day, meaning that at the times indicated we will move to those items, even if doing so means that we postpone the issue at hand until a later time in the day. After the meeting is called to order, Chris Gilbert, pastor of Riverlawn Presbyterian Church, will bring greetings and share necessary information about the facilities there. The stated clerk will then indicate whether a quorum is present. A quorum is 15% of our minister members, or 18 ministers, and 15% of our churches represented by a ruling elder, or 19 ruling elder commissioners from different churches. If a quorum is present, we will then vote to amend or approve the docket. After the installation of the new moderator, our educational focus will be telling our church's stories through the records we keep, led by David Stanunas of the Presbyterian Historical Society, although I've probably butchered that name. Nellie Howard, our Resource Center Director, will then share new resources that are available to be checked out at this meeting, along with other resources available at the Resource Center today. Worship will be led by Carrie Pressler, Commissioned Pastor at Fallsview Presbyterian Church, Todd Wright, Pastor of Village Chapel Presbyterian Church, and Glenn Coleman, Interim Associate Pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Charleston. Music will be provided by Pam Johnson and the Riverlawn Church Choir. Several things to note about worship. First, all of the communion bread will be gluten-free. Second, if you want a printed bulletin to follow, you will need to print it before you come and bring it with you. It can be found after page 56 in the meeting packet. One last note about the offering we will receive. Later in the meeting, we will be approving that it be used to assist with costs to bring visitors from Neary Presbytery, our sister presbytery in Kenya, to us later this year. If this recommendation does not pass, however, it will be held in reserve until its use is approved. As we break for lunch following worship, please be aware that if you have any new business you would like for the presbytery to consider at this meeting, it must be submitted in writing to Maureen Wright, the stated clerk, prior to your eating lunch. Following a break for lunch, we will reconvene with the necrology report, lifting up those ruling elders and minister members of the presbytery who died in 2019. You will find a list of those whose names have been reported by their churches on pages 54 and 55. There will be other names added as we meet. We will then move on to what I might call the more formal business of the presbytery for the afternoon. At this time, we'll welcome new ministers of Word and Sacrament, also known as teaching elders. We will seat new corresponding members. These are ministers who are members of other presbyteries while serving within our boundaries, and give them voice for this meeting. And we'll introduce any visiting ministers who might have joined us for the day. This is also when ruling elders and commissioners who are attending a presbytery meeting for the first time with voice and vote will be recognized. Next on the docket is the consent agenda. It can be found on page 3. We will vote on all of the items here with one vote unless someone asks that any one or all of the items be removed for discussion later in the meeting. Being on the consent agenda doesn't mean these items are less important. They've been placed here as those planning the meeting thought they were unlikely to generate discussion. For this meeting, 3 items are on the consent agenda: approving excused absences, designating how the offering received today will be used, and approving the celebration of communion at 2 Bluestone retreats this spring. If anyone in attendance would like the opportunity to discuss any one of these, all they have to do is ask after the consent agenda is moved. The next 2 items on the agenda are the appointment of temporary clerks. These are ruling elders and ministers of Word and Sacrament appointed by the moderator. They will hand out any materials to be distributed during the meeting and count any votes other than voice votes. And then there's the appointment of the Standing Committee on Bills and Overtures that will consist of leadership team members who are present at the meeting, who would review any new business proposed to come before the body and make recommendation. Next, we will hear reports from 2 of our presbytery staff, the stated clerk and the general presbyter. You will find Maureen Wright's report as stated clerk on page 4. Here is information on correspondence that's been received and shared, as well as noting past members of the Presbytery's Permanent Judicial Commission as required by our Constitution. As we join in the work of the Presbytery, the procedural matters found on page 5 will guide us. These include principles of parliamentary law, courtesy to all, 1 item at a time, majority rule, respect the rights of the minority, justice for all, and partiality for none. Basically, setting forth how to work and play well and respect one another as we meet together. As items are discussed, pro and con speakers will alternate, with individuals asked to identify the position they support. When one person has spoken on a pending question or issue, All others wishing to speak will be heard before that person can speak a second time. It takes special permission for someone to speak on the same issue or question more than twice. On this page you will also find provisions from the Presbytery's manual that guide us, including who has the ability to speak and who is able to speak and vote. In the final section of page 5, you'll find the procedural rules that we follow. These include everyone speaking for whatever reason needs to go to a microphone, and when called on by the moderator, share their name, church, or relationship to the presbytery. Please don't assume that everyone can hear you from where you sit, or that everyone knows your name. Here you will find that the limitation for debating any motion is 30 minutes per main motion, with each speaker limited to 3 minutes per speech, although this part of it must be approved by 2/3 of those voting on it on the 15th. As you read the packet, if you see an item you feel called to speak to, you may want to go ahead and write some remarks out to help keep you focused and able to use your time wisely. Next, Ed Thompson, our General Presbyter, will address the Presbytery. You'll find his written report to the Presbytery, in which he describes his work since our last meeting on pages 7 to 9. As we begin to hear committee reports, please note that these reports have 2 sections. One is the recommendation section, which contains items we will be discussing and voting on during the meeting. The other is an information section, which reports on the work of the committee since the last time the Presbytery met. Please read all of each report for a sense of the entire work of the Presbytery, for committees carry out a significant portion of our ministry and mission. The Vocations Committee's recommendations all center around Garland Dale Carey becoming a minister of Word and Sacrament in the Presbytery and in the PCUSA. He is currently a minister in good standing in the West Virginia Conference of Southern Baptists. Among its recommendations, the committee is asking that the Presbytery waive the Book of Order requirement that he have a transcript from a theological institution accredited by the Association of Theological Schools, as his theological degree is from Campbellsville University, which is accredited by the Southern Association of Schools Commission on Colleges. You'll find more information in the rationale section on Recommendation 2 on page 10 on this matter. If this recommendation is approved by a 3/4 majority vote, other recommendations related to constitutional requirements, his call to work under the jurisdiction of the Presbytery, and our examining him for membership in the Presbytery of West Virginia of the PCUSA will follow. If all of these recommendations are approved, he will then be enrolled as a minister in our presbytery once the stated clerk has been notified that he's no longer a minister in the Southern Baptist Church. You will find Dale's autobiographical statement and statement of faith on pages 12 and 13. The report of the Committee on Ministry can be found on pages 16 to 22 and primarily contains information about the work the committee has been doing. For much of their work, they act as a commission, acting on behalf of Presbytery without having to bring items to the whole Presbytery. Some of their work has been approving ministers of Word and Sacrament who've been called to validated ministries rather than congregations, approving commissioned pastor, stated supply, and interim ministry covenants, all of which are for a 1-year term, supporting pastors, and working with congregations and pastors in transition. At this meeting, John Yeager will be commissioned to serve Enslow Park Presbyterian Church in Huntington as a commissioned pastor. You may also want to note that the Ministry Committee approved Stephen Court for membership in this presbytery. His autobiographical statement and statement of faith can be found on pages 23 through 26. On page 27, the Nurture Committee has provided information on upcoming events on a variety of topics for a variety of ages. For many of these events, you will find flyers at the end of the packet that you're asked to post in your church where they can be seen. At this meeting, the committee will be sharing more about the upcoming Festival of Faith with Jill Duffield to be held on March 28th. Good news from the pews you will note on your docket is a time for ruling elders, and ruling elders only, to share some of the good things that are happening in their congregations. The intent is that as elders share about how their congregations are in ministry and mission, elders in other churches might glean some ideas to take back to their sessions and congregations. If you're your session's ruling elder commissioner for this meeting and would like to share, please be prepared to do so and remember to direct your remarks to the moderator using the microphone. Please note this is not a time to announce upcoming events in your congregation. The Committee on Representation has been given the responsibility to nominate persons to serve Presbytery. On page 28, you will find recommendations for persons to serve on several of our Presbytery committees. As with any nomination, there will also be the opportunity for persons to be nominated from the floor. However, if you wish to nominate someone from the floor, please be aware that they must have agreed to serve if elected before they are nominated. On pages 29 to 45, you'll find a great deal of financial information. This includes year-end financial reports for the Presbytery, per capita and shared ministry benevolence giving by churches in 2019, and per capita and shared ministry information received for 2020. You will also find a year-end report from Bluestone and the Friends of Bluestone. Rocky Poole, our financial administrator and treasurer, will be reviewing these with us. The Administrative Commission to dissolve Beverly Hills Presbyterian Church in Huntington will be presenting a recommendation that this church be dissolved. You will find the rationale for this on pages 46 and 47. A closing worship service was held there on Sunday, January 26th. The Mission Committee's report can be found on page 48. Their recommendation about the offering will have been approved as part of the consent agenda or will be discussed here. Don't forget to read the material under the information section here as well as in all the other reports. As we continue to move toward the end of the day, Sarah Speck, Bluestone Program Director, will be making us aware of upcoming opportunities for enjoying the beauty of God's creation at Bluestone. At this point in the day, any new business that was given to Maureen Wright prior to the lunch break will be reported and acted on. At the end of the committee report section of the meeting packet, on pages 49 to 53, you will find written reports from several committees from the Presbytery's leadership team, on the work of several administrative commissions working with churches, and a report from the Presbytery's trustees. Please don't overlook these, as they too reflect the ongoing work of and within the Presbytery. At the end of all the reports, you'll find a PDF evaluation form. You'll also receive a hard copy of this during the meeting. Please take time to complete an evaluation, either before you leave or in the next day or two, and return it to the boxes at the door along with your name tags, or snail mail it or email it to the office. These do assist the leadership team and others in planning future meetings, and your feedback is greatly appreciated. The last two sections of the meeting packet are the worship bulletin and flyers about upcoming events. You will receive a printed copy of the flyers at registration. Please plan to share them as part of your report to your session about this meeting and post them where they will be seen by persons who might be interested in participating in them. Flyers include request for updated information for the Presbytery directory. This information enables us to continue to stay in relationship and connected with one another. The Younger Youth Retreat, Marveling to be a Child of God, in early March. The Expanding Your Ministry Toolbox course starts something new on March 12th. Festival of Faith on March 28th. The Guys Weekend at Bluestone the last weekend of April. The Spring Getaway Retreat at Bluestone the first weekend of May. The Montreat Youth Conference, which, though it will be held in July, has a registration deadline in April. And the Bluestone Syndicate to Camp Initiative. Please remember, at the end of the day, that the end of the meeting does not mean your responsibility is over. Your work continues as the ruling elder commissioner, as a minister member, as you take what you have learned and observed and share this with your session. Congratulations. You have made it to the end of this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, February 15th at Riverlawn Presbyterian Church in St. Albans.